This is the WrestleBread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 153 of the WrestleBread Podcast. So once again, this episode is coming out late. Remember when I mentioned that I wasn't feeling well? Well, come to find out, it was COVID. Luckily, I'm no longer positive, and the only symptoms I had was when I was sick, and then I kind of had like a cough from there. The whole household ended up getting it. I'm the only one right now who had tested negative, but luckily everyone else is doing fine, but it still sucks. I was actually supposed to go to Las Vegas with my family, celebrate my mom's birthday, but with me testing positive for COVID like 2 days before I was supposed to leave, of course I couldn't go, which sucks, but you know, it is what it is. But I'm glad that I was able to find out that I was positive before I went and possibly, got my mom sick as well. So a lot to catch up with. I really didn't keep up with a lot of the rumors that was going around, but of course the biggest story has to do with MJF, which I will get into after I talk about Double or Nothing. But this episode is mainly going to be reviews of Double or Nothing, a little bit of NXT In Your House because I caught some of that, and Hell in a Cell as well. And then I'll just kind of recap what happened on Dynamite, and then a little bit of what happened on Dynamite, and then a little bit that happened on Raw as well. So getting into Double or Nothing, overall, it was long, okay? It was a very long pay-per-view, which I knew what was going to happen because they had 13 matches scheduled. And I knew it was going to be one or two matches that I was going to sit there and say should have been on Dynamite or on Rampage. I felt bad for the crowd that was there. There were times that they were dead. There were times where they woke up and everything. But I feel like I understand that, there's only 4 pay-per-views per, every couple of months, but still. These pay-per-views do not need to be lasting for well over 4 hours, truthfully. Last time that they had a very long pay-per-view, it was only one match that was kind of like down, but it was a very good pay-per-view overall. But it's very rare that there is a very good pay-per-view overall and 4 hours kind of like flies by because you're like, going through that not really a roller coaster, but you're on like a bit of a high because all the matches was good. That's how I felt with, was it All Out that Punk has showed up, or I forgot which pay-per-view it was, where it was very loaded and a lot happened, and the pay-per-view lasted for 4 hours. I believe that was the All Out that Punk had showed up. That's what I think it is. But a lot. A lot going on. Oh, no, not the All Out. Yeah, no. I think it's the first All Out with CM Punk. That it was like 4 hours, but all the matches was really good. And I think if that's the one where Paul White went against someone, where Paul White wrestled, that's the pay-per-view I'm talking about. But for Double or Nothing, definitely a very long pay-per-view. It was okay. It wasn't really like as good as a lot of the other pay-per-views. It was for AEW. It had its really good matches. It had its really downs. And some booking decisions just don't make any sense to me. And I'll get into that once I go through each match. But first off, starting on the pre-show, we had Hook and Danhausen versus Tony and Smart Mark. So I never seen Danhausen wrestle before. First of all, I love his look when he came out and everything. And I thought that maybe he would be more, he wouldn't wrestle as much as he did. I'm assuming his leg is 100%. It was a short and sweet match, served its purpose for the buy-in. Smart Mark, bless him, got in there and wrestled as well. I know he's a wrestler too, but we only seen him mainly, doing the lawyer stuff and everything. But overall, this match was fine, short and sweet, served its purpose to, really get the crowd into things with, Hook and Danhausen. Hookhausen, as they are being called. But like I said, short and sweet for the buy-in show. So then we go into the opening match, which is MJF versus Wardlow. So here I'll get into the situation with MJF. First of all, I was just very confused. I did hear, now this is after, of course, I did the last episode when I was doing predictions for MJF. Of course, he had did a no-show that weekend for the meet and greet, and then there was rumors flying around that he may have hopped on a plane to go home and stuff like that, but it just wasn't really confirmed. And then, AEW didn't really address if this match was still happening. I mean, they were still kind of promoting it. Even on the buy-in show, they were talking about it as well. And, seeing that this is what happened, which, we see that MJF actually showed up. This was a very much an 80s styles match, which really fits MJF. MJF is really he really like an 80s vibe type of wrestler, where he really plays the heel, persona very well in the match to like get the crowd involved in the match. If you ever watch like the old school wrestling matches, whenever, especially somebody going against like Hulk Hogan or something like that, the heel will sit there and play off to the crowd and be like, begging for their life and stuff like that. That's how MJF wrestles. The crowd started chanting Powerbomb City with, I think he did 9 or 10 power bombs or something. Bless MJF for taking all that. And of course, Wardlow wins. He's officially signed with WWE. My thoughts with MJF, especially the promo that he cut on Dynamite where he called Tony Khan a fucking mark. He mentioned how Tony Khan hoards money to sign ex-WWE wrestlers and stuff like that, and that maybe he should come back as a ex-WWE wrestler, and ask Tony Khan to fire him. And of course, people all over the internet were saying if this is a work or if it's a shoot and stuff like that. Then shortly after the promo, allegedly the executives who were in attendance at that Dynamite wanted to pull MJF, or whoever made the decision. Ultimately, MJF has been pulled from the his promo has been pulled. They don't talk about it or anything, and apparently I believe his merchandise has been pulled off the shop, and he is not listed on the roster. Now, my opinion with this is, I just find it very weird that all of a sudden MJF like threw around the whole WWE thing like maybe once or twice before CODY left, but since CODY has left, it's been very adamant of MJF wanting to jump ship to WWE. Obviously, he's good friends with CODY. CODY got paid what he wanted to do. He's sitting on top of the game and stuff like that. But, there's a big difference with Cody Rhodes going back to WWE and MJF going to WWE. And there's a really big difference of someone going from WWE to AEW versus AEW to WWE. Now, I like AEW, I really do. WWE is really like top notch when it comes to wrestling and marketing, or entertainment, as I should say. AEW, they travel once or twice a week. You have your holidays and stuff like that. You can get time off if you need it. You can go wrestle at other places. WWE don't play that. You are on the road for 300 days. You're doing house shows. You're doing appearances, stuff like that. You are given a character to work as. You're given a promo to recite, unless you're able to get some type of pull. Sometimes you have a direction in the creative process. Now, I don't know obviously CODY has been telling MJF what's going on over there. And I don't know I don't know if Cody Rhodes put in his contract or whoever he brings over to AEW gets a sweet deal as well. But MJF is really playing it up. Like, if he goes to WWE, he's going to get, he's going to immediately be in the title picture, and he will be, the same character as Cody Rhodes. Now, if WWE proves me wrong, then I'll be a sucker for the second time, because I didn't think WWE will, have Cody Rhodes be like basically AEW Cody Rhodes to the T, and I'll talk about him too when I go over Hell in a Cell. But my thing is, listen, if Tony Khan is listening, or if there's an insider who's listening to this by any chance, fire MJF. Let him go to WWE. I will love to see what WWE MJF will look like. Obviously, he cannot cut the promos that he normally cuts. He can't sit there and say things like cocaine Melanie or whatever. I forgot the term that he used. He can't. I mean, he could probably call the crowd, a bunch of virgins, something like that. But, I will love to see how things go with MJF. Like, is he, because Cody, I think it was Russell Talk that mentioned this, or it's somewhere, this stat is somewhere. But apparently last year, Cody Rhodes only did 44 matches in a year or something like that. And then within a month of him working with WWE, he did 22 matches within a month because he's working the house shows. And so I would love to see how MJF is able to handle such a stressful, workload that you're doing the house shows, you're doing appearances, you're having to recite the promos and stuff like that. Like, are they going to let MJF be who he is? Which I kind of already know the answer to that. But are you going to let him cut the promos that he's been cutting? Because he's really good at what he does. Like, are they going to allow him when he does these, meet and greets and stuff like that for WWE? Is he going to be allowed to stay in character and talk to fans the way he talks to them, especially kids? I've seen him interact with kids and say the things that he said to them. Is WWE really going to be okay with that? And if they are, then obviously this will be a slap in the face to everyone who is already with WWE and has basically, played everything by the book and by the rules. And then, because this person is coming from a rival company, they get to do whatever it is that they want, which they probably feel with Cody Rhodes coming in. But for someone who was with WWE, but really wasn't everybody knows him from being the damn security guard for Samoa Joe. Like, he wasn't, making a bunch of appearances throughout the years or anything like that. Like, he didn't do the work in WWE similar to what Cody Rhodes had done. So I'm very interested to see how MJF is going to look in WWE. So I'm hoping that Tony Khan lets him go. Let that man go. Let him go to WWE. If he thinks it's sweet, he's listening to his buddy Cody talk about it. And like I said, I don't know if Cody got something in his contract that if he's able to recruit people to WWE, that they'll have a sweet deal as well, and they get to have, as much creative freedom in their character and promos that he has. But I highly doubt MJF is going to work with WWE. Now, his wrestling style works perfectly with WWE. The way he wrestles, it'll work great with WWE because, he plays up the heel role in the match. He is more of an entertainer in the match than he is like wrestling. That works perfectly with WWE, but I don't think him cutting the promos and him doing the things that he does is going to work, especially because WWE really cares about branding. They really care about image and stuff like that, and their networks and their sponsors and stuff like that. And so I don't really see it happening. On the other thing too, so I didn't have all the details. So when MJF had cut his promo on live TV, I was kind of shocked that this was happening. If you've been having an issue with someone, the last thing you want to do is give them a live mic, especially if there are executives there. But apparently, allegedly, there was a news or rumor out there that him and Tony Khan actually worked things out before that Dynamite. So I'm guessing Tony Khan was under the idea that everything was good as far as with MJF, but I'm interested to see what Tony Khan is going to do now. You have an employee who went on live TV and caused such a ruckus. I know like I always keep saying, Tony Khan is a fan first, but when you are a boss, you could be friendly and be a fan and stuff like that, but you have to have your limits. And that's something that I learned, firsthand when I was working in management. I was trying to be friendly and cool and stuff like that, and then people started walking all over me and didn't really take me seriously. And so, we never really, I don't remember coming across an instance where Tony Khan kind of like put his foot down, but this is like this is the biggest test for him in a public setting to see how he handles it. Now we see him when he's fired up and happy and stuff like that. We saw him react to CM Punk at the media scrum, and him talking about who else he was really excited about, just period. We've seen him when he's like very excited and happy and stuff like that, but I'm very interested to see how he is as an owner, as a the manager, CEO, the boss, how he handles stuff like this, because it can't be handled. I mean, it can't be handled backstage. Oh, that's what I was thinking about. Big Swole, the situation with Big Swole, we see how he reacts to stuff like that. The situations like that, but now this is a real test. This is a current employee that has publicly embarrassed you on national TV, took the live mic, cut the promo on you with the executives there. And whether this is, if people still think this is a work or whatever, I don't think it's really, I don't think that it's a work. I think this is an actual thing, that this is something, MJF really wants to leave AEW because he wants to join his friend over in WWE. I think this is completely legit. Now, if this is a work, this is, their idea of it, which I think is very strange, seeing as though the MJF did not show up for a meet and greet that people paid money to see him at, and the fact that they pulled his merchandise off the shop, which means he's not making money. So I don't think it's a work because the company lost money for his no-show, and now he's losing money of not getting merchandise money. So I think this is a real thing. If this isn't a real thing, this is a very fucking weird way to handle this like CM Punk 2.0 situation. Because it's very weird. It's very weird because you're dragging fans into this with this whole cancellation of a meet and greet, because I heard that they either refunded money or they exchanged the tickets to a meet and greet with someone else, which is sad because it's not like this meet and greet is somewhere where everyone can easily access, walk around the corner type of situation. There's people who traveled to Las Vegas who possibly may have got the tickets previously and flew a day or two before just to catch this meet and greet. So very weird situation. I really can't wait to see how this plays out, and I really, like, a big part of me wants MJF to go to WWE. I would love to see how this plays out with him in WWE. Are they going to let him cut his heel promos? Is he going to be able to stay in character 24/7? Because the way that with MJF, it's a very thin line between when he's in character and when he's not. Like, you don't know when, like, he rarely is out of character, which is something that you can't really do in WWE like that anymore because there is social media, especially when WWE wants you to tweet out something, like when they had the show in Saudi, everyone was tweeting out, WWE continues to influence the world. You're telling me that MJF is going to go along and tweet that? Is MJF going to show up, like I said, at meet and greets and stuff like that and interact with fans? And, for him to sit there and smile and not be in character. They also have, like, the bump and stuff like that. Like, it's little things. Like, even The Miz, when he's in character, he's really good. But we've seen him out of character. The only person that really have been in character for the longest time was The Undertaker, and even they took him out of character with, The Last Ride and all that, The Last Ride documentaries and all that stuff, his appearances and things like that. So let MJF go and, let him go to WWE and we'll see how things play out from that. So next up is the Young Bucks versus the Hardys, which on paper I felt as though would have been a very good match. Unfortunately, it didn't play out that way. Seems like Jeff Hardy, they said that he got injured during the match, but it feels like he came into the match injured. Because even during the entrance, he seemed a bit off. Now, I don't think it was like, I don't know what it was. But I don't think he was injured during the match. I think it was before the match because the start of the match, it seemed like he just wasn't all there. I love the Young Bucks entrance with the Elvis singing Viva Super Kick Party. But yeah, the Jeff Hardy with the boot coming undone, like I don't know if it was a foot injury or something like that, but he was like slow throughout the whole match. And Matt Hardy was the one who carried the match, which, if you had told me, if I had told myself when I was recording my predictions that Matt Hardy would have been the one carrying the match for the Hardys, I would have told you you're a damn liar. But yet here we are. Definitely wasn't really as good as a match as I would have thought it would have been. Very surprised with the win with the Hardys. Like I said, it could have gone either way, but I figured this would have been more passing the torch than for the Hardys to win. But I'm guessing with the way this match went, probably run it back again. I don't know. Like, I don't know if hopefully we'll get a better match than what we got, but I'm not 100% sure we will, to be quite honest. Next up is the match between Jade Cargill and Anna Jay. Jade Cargill coming out with the Asuka hair. This match was fine. I mean, this match was the match of everybody running in. This was everybody who could run in would ran in, and I'm surprised that I'm surprised that referees weren't showing up. I'm surprised that Hook didn't run in. I'm surprised Britt Breaker didn't run in. Like, let's just get everybody to run in. Because we had Smart Mark who ran in, then the baddies showed up, and then who else? Then we had John Silver who showed up as well. It was just like, can we concentrate on somewhat of a match here? I wasn't really that excited for this match. This match had zero build. I don't even know if Anna Jay was technically the number one contender, but I don't know if the rankings work with the TBS championship like it would for the women's AEW championship. But then Malcolm Bivens, aka Stokely, I think it's Stokely Hathaway, came out. And he's with Jade Cargill, which, initially I was excited for it, but then I realized, well, Jade really don't need a mouthpiece as much. I guess, she could play off of Stokely or something like that. But I was happy to see him. I thought he was going to stick to comedy like he said he was going to, but it seems like AEW must have presented the right amount of money. Unfortunately for MJF. But, I was like, okay, this kind of works. I don't know. Maybe it should have been with someone else who really needs the mouthpiece. But I guess it works here. Like, she kind of needs all the help that she can get. I mean, she's gotten a lot better than when she first showed up, but she still needs help. And it doesn't help that, AEW is starting to get to that, with the women's division at least, starting to do what WWE does, where they just concentrate on like one or two people and then everyone else is fucked. But, we had a very lovely surprise of Amber Moon showing up, Athena, that she is going by now. We also had Chris Statlander who came up. Well, Chris Statlander showed up first, and I was like, okay, cool. This is kind of what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Chris Statlander versus Jade Cargill, especially with Chris Statlander with the new gimmick. And then Amber Moon comes out, and then we kind of got a face-off with her, Chris Statlander and Anna Jay. So, we got that thing going on. I wanted Athena to show up. I feel as though she'll be a great addition for the women's division, but who knows? She may turn out to be just like fucking Ruby Soho and just kind of get thrown to the fucking side after a while, due to the powers of B and, you know, the golden child, who I will also speak about in a little bit too. Nothing against, you know, the golden child. It's just the booking that I don't like. That's all. But yeah, I'm excited for Athena. You know, that we're getting additions for the women's division. Hopefully the women's division starts to get booked a little bit better and kind of like gets a little bit more attention. Well, I wouldn't say booked a little bit better, because they get booked for main events and then they're just like, I would say more attention, more marketing for the women's division. Let's not let it be like 2 to 3 women who gets like all the attention and then the women's champ kind of like falls to the wayside type of situation. But I was surprised here that Jade wins. We're just kind of waiting for whoever is supposed to take out, you know, get built up properly to take her out. Next up after that is the House of Black versus Death Triangle. Chef's kiss. We need the trios title. These two teams can feud back and forth. You know, feud just like with when it was the New Day versus the Usos. Even though it felt like, you know, the New Day and the Usos were like the only tag teams that really mattered. But when they faced each other in the ring, it was straight magic. And I felt this way with House of Black and Death Triangle. I felt as though straight magic. Love the entrances. I always will love the entrances for House of Black. I feel as though it's kick-ass. I love the Death Triangle entrance with Baby Penta. But Baby Girl was a little too close to the fire. I don't know if anybody caught that. You know, me as a concerned mom, I'm like, why isn't Papa running over and grabbing her ass before she got too close to the fire? Because I know that fire gives off a lot of heat. Like, I wasn't as close as she was when I went to AEW. When it came to Philly, I was probably like maybe a good 10 rolls away, and I felt the heat of that fire. So I can only imagine how she felt. But this match was pretty good. It had its moments. You know, bless Brody for trying to go over the top rope. You know, bless his big ass Hart for trying to get his big ass to go over the rope. He landed on the apron, but you know, they made it work. His legs hit the members of the Death Triangle, but bless his heart for trying. You know, sometimes you never know until you try. You know, he felt as though, hey, if Malachi and Buddy Matthews can do it, why can't my big ass? And then he tried it, and then he realized, oh, that's why I shouldn't try it. But bless his heart. We had Pac going up to the top rope. The lights go out. People thought it was a new member. I figured who it was. Luckily, thankfully, we did not have to wait another year for this, turn to happen. It has happened tonight. I feel as though it was like 6 months too late, but finally Julia is with the House of Black. She looks pretty cool. She was part with their, the vignette promos that they love to cut, and she really fits in. I was kind of like concerned that because sometimes with women they have that high pitched voice and it doesn't really work. Not for her to like turn around and be like, Darth Vader or something like that, but her voice and her tone in the promo really works. And I feel as though, with her turning heel, it'll kind of give her a little bit more dimension as a wrestler. Hopefully, I'm assuming she's going to be trained a little bit better, and we'll see a lot more progression with her as far as her wrestling matches. Don't know where we would go from here. Obviously, I'm going to assume Death Triangle is going to recruit someone to wrestle with them to, go against Julia. They could easily pull somebody from probably AAA or Impact or something like that. But yeah, I don't mind House of Black and Death Triangle could continue to feud. They could definitely do one-offs. Like, this is one of the feuds that I don't mind them continuing. We could definitely have, Malachi go through each member of House of Death Triangle. Buddy Matthews go through each member of Death Triangle, and even Brody King can go through each member of Death Triangle. So, I hope we continue this feud. Definitely was a very good match, a match that I couldn't wait to see, and it was pretty cool. After that, we had Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe. Once Adam Cole came out with the pink, I already knew what it was. I already knew who was going to win. Just, give us a little bit of mystery, come out with all black or something like that, but once he showed up with the pink, I'm like, all right, well, we know who's going to win. It's just a matter of who the hell is going to help him out, or is he going to win cleanly? Bobby Fish helped him out, and it like I said, it's just very confused. Like, I get it because it's Adam Cole, but as far as like the Owen Hart tournament, you have the person who, like I said in my predictions, resemble more of a Shawn Michaels than any member of the Hart family to win. I felt as though this should have been a tournament for someone who don't really get a shot, because that's what Owen Hart was. He was always the underdog, hence his saying, enough is enough and it's time for a change. He always was in the shadow of his brother Bret Hart and other members of the Hart family, and he was always the underdog. So I always felt like this should have been like a not really a breakout tournament, but similar to a breakout tournament where there's someone who is lesser known to like get into the spotlight. But here we are. Adam Cole won. Mike Chioda being the referee, I thought that was a really cool touch of him refereeing this match. But yeah, I wasn't really that surprised that Adam Cole won. They did, psych us out and gave us a few moments where it felt like it was going to be Samoa Joe who was going to win, but in the end it was Adam Cole. And then they mentioned how there's going to be a presentation of the belt after the women's, and I'm like, fuck, that means Britt Baker is going to win. If they're going to do a duo presentation, it'll be very weird for it to be Adam Cole and Ruby Soho standing there, where more likely it's going to be Adam Cole and Britt Baker coming out. And then Britt Baker comes out. So, of course, after that, we had Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. Britt comes out with the pink, and I'm like, okay, this is where we're going. She had the guitarist from Fozzy, playing part of her song. And Ruby Soho had Rancid, who did the song. Her jacket said it's time for a change, and I'm like, damn, we're doing all of this, and she's going to lose once again. Ruby Soho, the match was fine, truthfully. I mean, Ruby did like a sharpshooter. It was more like a Boston Crab to me. I mean, someone pointed out that, yes, it was people who were saying it was the worst sharpshooter. I've seen worse sharpshooters, and, we're talking of all time, I've seen worse. I've seen a lot worse. It was more of a Boston Crab, though. I think, when she tried to put on the sharpshooter, it felt like she didn't have a great grip on the legs, because, it's more of a squat than it is of you kneeling with one leg. But yeah, it wasn't really the best of things. So my issues is, and this is, I refer to Britt Baker as the golden child. Look, I have nothing against Britt Baker as far as the person. She's cool. I would love for her to be my dentist. But it's just the booking of Britt Baker that I'm very tired of. Like, they book her better than the champion. Thunder Rosa comes out, cuts like a 2-minute promo and everything, and then she disappears. Someone please tell me, Britt Baker had the title for so long, she loses the title to Thunder Rosa and then gets booked better than Thunder Rosa. She gets another title. And they don't really, now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't really explain the situation with these belts. Are these belts that they're going to hold on to until next year's tournament? Are these belts that they're going to have to defend? Like, what is the situation with these belts? And why are we getting these belts versus, a trios belt? I would have been completely fine with a trophy and stuff like that, like they had. Put the names on there, call it a day type of situation. And then I guess you can do this I don't know if we're going to do this every quarter or if this is going to be annually or anything like that. It just feels like we kind of like threw things in the air and saw where it fell. And like I said, with the men's side, with the women's side, I felt as though this could have been given to someone who didn't really have a big chance in the spotlight. Someone who's more of an underdog, like I said, very similar to Owen Hart. If this was the Bret Hart tournament, then I wouldn't feel this way about Adam Cole and Britt Baker winning. Because Bret Hart was, booked top of his game for a portion of his run in WWE. Not going to say he was top notch because he got screwed over too. Not as much, booking wise as Owen Hart. But I just feel as though I get it because they're the two representatives that you want to use for the Owen Hart because they are, highly regarded in the company, but as far as this tournament in honor of Owen Hart, it makes no sense. Then they did the Owen Hart presentation. Dr. Martha Hart comes out. She really played up with the crowd and stuff. Tony Khan is such a nerd. I know MJF called him a mark and stuff like that, but he is such a freaking nerd. It's just like I don't know whether to say like, oh, it's adorable or if it's cringy. Sometimes it's like either or. But my gosh, that man is such a nerd. And it shocks me because he is he deals with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's not like he isn't used to like being out in public and dealing with people and stuff like that, but he acts like he doesn't deal with people like that. Like he comes off like socially awkward to me. Which I don't know. I don't know how I really feel about that. Maybe I'll change my mind in a couple of years or something, but yeah, truthfully, no offense to Dr. Martha Hart, I felt as though this presentation went on just a little bit too long. If I remember correctly, she was told that she could say whatever she wanted. They like gave her a lot of time to say what she wanted. She like read her speech and stuff like that, and then she presented the belts and the trophy and stuff. And I'm like, this is a lot. And then I saw them walk out with their titles on Dynamite. So I'm like, okay, so they are legit going to be carrying around these damn titles for a couple of months, which I don't know, just don't make any sense to me. They really don't. But maybe in a couple of weeks we'll find out. I guess with the next pay-per-view, are these belts going to be defended? Are we doing another Owen Hart tournament or something? Is this going to be like every 6 months or so? Like, what are we doing here, and why are there belts involved with it? That's all I gotta say. Next up is the mixed tag team with Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Paige Van Zant going against Frankie Kazarian, Tay Conti, and Sammy Guevara. And they're officially engaged. Congratulations to them. It is what it is. Not that often. Well, I've read about it. You see it on like soap operas and stuff like that. The guy who is engaged to 2 women within a year. Bless their heart. They're happy. They're happy. Like I said, if you're gonna tell people not to be in your business, but then you always put your business out there, you can't really complain. Now, as far as like people giving death threats, stuff like that, you need to take a couple of fucking seats, please, and go watch TV or hop on the hub or something like that. Like you need to just chill the F out. But as far as this match goes, Sammy and Tay Conti coming out as Disney villains, I did crack up at that. This match should have been on Dynamite. I don't understand why we couldn't got a TNT championship against someone else, but I felt as though this match definitely should have been on Dynamite. Paige Van Zant was, she was very WWE to me. I heard that she was trained by Gangrel, and it shows because she did the spot where she like, I don't know, she kicked Tay Conti or pushed her or whatever into Sammy's crotch, and then she stood there and like faked laugh, like straight up fake laugh, like she was on a Disney show. And I was like, this is a lot. I was like, this is a lot. Like, and then she was laughing a little bit too long, and it was just very WWE to me. It just really reeks WWE to me when she did that. And I was like, the wrong person was training her, really. She was fine. Shout out to Tay Conti for taking that super kick. She sold that better than a lot of people on the roster. But the match definitely should have been on Dynamite. It didn't feel pay-per-view worthy to me. I guess they wanted to make it feel pay-per-view worthy because this was Paige's first match, but you could easily have just said this would be our first match of Dynamite. Like, we really didn't need it on this pay-per-view. After that, we had Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly. Now, I was mentioning I didn't understand why this match happened, but I completely forgot Kyle had destroyed Sting the last time they were all in the ring. So I get it, but this was another match that should have been on fucking Dynamite. It was a good match. Darby is just, he is just like so working hard to take years off of his life with these crazy spots. Like, I don't know, he grew up probably watching nothing but ECW and Jeff Hardy. Like, some of these spots he's doing is just like, bro, you really don't need to do all this. Like, we get it and stuff, like, but there's just, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. But yeah, he got busted open, first of all, with the knee from Kyle O'Reilly early in the match. And then he went for a suicide dive, and he, like, fell head first. I think his foot got caught up on a rope or something like that. And the commentators kept calling for it to be replayed. And apparently there is, like, a miscommunication with the production because they kept showing the wrong clip because he went for the suicide dive the second time, and of course he did it correctly, and that's the one that they kept showing. Good match, like I said, but this is a match that should have been on Dynamite. After that, there was the women's championship match of Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb. This match, I have to be honest, was a slight mess, which I was a little surprised about because with Serena Deeb, she's very technical, and this was a technical match and stuff like that, but it was just like, it was sloppy. That's a better word to say. It was sloppy. There was a lot of pausing for them to get into for them to set up the spots correctly. It was a lot of pausing on Thunder Rosa's end for her to be set up for the spot to happen or for her to do the spot. This match was late on the card, so the crowd was like dead at this point. I was halfway dead at this point. But yeah, it's just, if your name's not Britt Baker, you're not being booked strongly. And unfortunately, I like Thunder Rosa, I really do, but it's just, so far, her as a champion, it's stale. And it's really a shame because when you feel this way, then it gives AEW, it gives Tony Khan the reason to throw the title back on Britt Baker, which it shouldn't be on Britt Baker. It should be on a lot of other people. But yeah, it was a sloppy match, and it's a shame because this could have been a really good technical match, but unfortunately so far, Thunder Rosa's best match is against Britt Baker. Then after that was the Thunder Rosa retained, of course, which I wasn't really too surprised about. But I don't know where we're going to go from here. Then, of course, came the craziest match of the night, which was Anarchy in the Arena. First of all, fucking Jericho Appreciation Society dressing up like the Backstreet Boys. Shout out to them. I loved it. Of course, growing up in the 90s with the boy bands and stuff, I loved it. Then Justin Roberts, of course, saying shit's about to hit the fan. So that was pretty cool too. That, hey, call it as you see it, But yeah, Chris Jericho and them showing up as the Backstreet Boys, and then Moxley music's hits, and then we have Moxley coming through the crowd. Then we also had and then we had Eddie Kingston, Santana, Ortiz, and Bryan Danielson, who showed up with the cutoff tee, which I'm like, damn, Bryan, I didn't know you had any other, shirts except for straight white tees. I mean, it was a white tee, but it was cut off to show off the arms. He's gotten bigger too since he's been in AEW. I don't know what it is, but everybody's, pumping iron a little more when they hit AEW. But yeah, them coming with a slight Shield entrance and stuff like that. The crowd got hyped. I was into this match. First of all, the fact that they played the music over and over again during the match was like, cherry on top. I love that. I've never seen pretty much a crazy, well, it's not false count anywhere, no holds bar match, I guess I should say, where the entrance music of someone is playing over and over again. And it wasn't like it was annoying because the crowd was into it, the crowd was singing it. It was just straight chaos. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't think of a great analogy, but it's like watching something so beautiful, but it was so chaotic at the same time. But I loved it. And then, of course, Chris Jericho being fucking an asshole, found the plug for the music and pulled that fucking plug. But the crowd was hyped to it. My only issue with this type of match, because you had 5 different places for the cameraman to like film and catch, and it was cuts, but there was a lot going on that the camera wasn't catching, and they would cut the shot to something, and we would catch like the slight tail end of a spot. So, I felt like it is what it is because it was a live match versus, something pre-taped like the Stadium Stampede where we were able to see, spots happening and stuff like that. But I was just hoping that, I don't know, that the camera work could have been done just a little bit better to where as though, we would be able to catch like the full spots, stuff like that. But yeah, it was a crazy match. And just like I had thought that Jericho was going to go over, I am surprised that it was Daniel Bryan. They did the whole pass out spot with him. And then the crazy spot was with fucking Eddie Kingston coming down the ramp like he was walking out of Resident Evil or something with the gasoline. First of all, how much do you hate a person the way gas prices are today that you went and got a bunch of gasoline just to dump it on someone? That's a lot of money being wasted. And if Eddie Kingston wants to waste gas like that, he can definitely give me a can of gasoline that he didn't use at Double or Nothing, because the way that gas is set up and the way that my account is set up, I need all the gas I can take. But yeah, that was a crazy ass match though. And it's kind of funny because I did kind of mention, like, are we going to get like some type of situation where it's Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Bryan, because they did kind of mention how Eddie Kingston was like, he is an asshole, and and so they kind of like, left that little bit of tension there with Eddie Kingston, Daniel Bryan. So I'm happy that we kind of got that spot where Eddie Kingston is so focused on destroying Chris Jericho that he was willing to take out someone who was supposed to be wrestling on his side. So I was fine with that. Interested to see with, Daniel Bryan is the one who passed out with the match, that, if Eddie Kingston is going to blame, is Eddie Kingston going to blame Daniel Bryan for what has happened or anything like that. But we'll see. After that, we had the tag team match between Jungle Express, Team Taz, and Keith Lee and Swerve. This was a pretty good match. First of all, Ricky Starks walking across the top rope, sitting there strutting his stuff. I popped for that one. A lot of crazy spots. First of all, definitely letting us know that Keith Lee and Swerve was a tag team we, didn't think that we needed, but, I'm definitely enjoying them. Definitely have been practicing their tag team moves. That there was the crazy spot where Swerve went off the top, was on the top rope, did a moonsault off of Keith Lee's chest. I mean, Keith Lee got a massive ass chest. That's a lot of surface area. He did a fucking perfect ass moonsault off his chest, which I thought was a really good spot. And then there was the crazy spot where I forgot what Ricky Starks was doing. I think he was going over the top rope or something to jump onto Jungle Express, and Jungle Express barely catched his ass, and because Keith Lee then was like, oh my god. So I mean, Swerve and Keith Lee was having a lot of fun in the match. It was someone who was upset that they felt as though that they was like too jokey and smiling and stuff like that. I'm like, it is what it is. I feel as though they can be serious when they're serious, but it doesn't really feel like that they're joking, being too jokey, if that makes sense. Especially with the tag team, the tag team moves that they were doing and stuff like that. They definitely was displaying a stronger work ethic in the ring than the fucking tag team champions. Like I said, I am slightly done with Jungle Express. Unfortunately, they have not been booked properly at all because I wouldn't say booked properly. It's just like they have gotten very stale, and it just feels like attention is put more on Christian than it is on Jungle Express. And like I said, Jungle Express hasn't been that exciting since Christian started to join them. But Swerve and Keith Lee definitely reminds me of The Bar. Actually, it's just the fact that it's individual wrestlers who came together as a tag team, and it just really works. So I can't wait to see where we go with them. If we're going to continue the feud between them and Team Taz. Listen, I like Luchasaurus, but Luchasaurus was slow. I mean, he was standing there from time to time. He just seemed lost. It was like he was a lagging NPC at some time. The champions retained, which I'm very surprised about. I thought that they would I thought they needed to get the titles off of them. And while, they need the titles, they need to lose the titles, I'm afraid of them losing the titles because I feel as though they're going to be completely lost in the shuffle. And completely understand people's concerns because a lot of the AEW originals are kind of like falling to the wayside because we're getting a lot of, bigger name, bigger talent, bigger draws coming into the company, and it's taking a lot of time from those originals. But unfortunately with Jungle Express, they're just not being booked properly. And it's just like, not only are they not being booked properly, like when they're in a match and stuff like that, Jungle Boy is still slightly exciting, but it's just them together with Christian is just like not working out. So I'm waiting for the turn with Christian, whenever they decide to, pull the trigger on that, let's let it be. But yeah, I was completely surprised that they retained. Then we come up with the main event, which is CM Punk versus Hangman Page. I am not gonna lie, I was asleep through half of this match. I was asleep through half this match. Now, CM Punk, first of all, CM Punk, he tried with the buckshot lariats, but it just was not working out at all. It wasn't working, and it's a shame because I knew they was going to put the title on him, and I knew that they was going to put the rocket on him and let him be the representative and stuff like that. But CM Punk he's not the same. And I knew he wasn't going to be the same, but there were a lot of people who looked at him and thought they were going to get CM Punk from 2011, and it's not happening. The 7 years is definitely doing a number. It's always going to be rust with him, and unfortunately with a lot of these wrestlers who are very fast paced and high risk and stuff like that. And I don't know, CM Punk was more, he wasn't really correct me if I'm wrong, I could be remembering incorrectly, but he wasn't really doing a lot of high risk stuff like a lot of the AEW wrestlers are doing now. So with him trying to not really keep up, but kind of keep up with it and doing some of these moves, like them buckshot lariats was just not pretty at all. So I think he should have went to Hangman Page and go yo, dude, help, help me, cause I don't know how to do this move and I don't want to look like a fool, which is what he looked like, unfortunately. But yeah, I was fighting sleep. Wasn't there for the first half. I watched it back and still kind of like still wasn't there, but yeah, I wasn't surprised that he won. The only thing that I'm confused about is with Hangman Page, who sat there and told CM Punk, like, I'm wrestling AEW away from you. And he talked all this game and how, oh, when I'm done with CM Punk, you're going to want your refund from the shirt and stuff like that. And then he hesitated to hit CM Punk with the title. Which I'm like, if you're sitting here saying all this stuff about how you're willing to wrestle, AEW away from people and I'm going to beat the shit out of him, stuff like that, and you're still like having this a bit of a moral compass. I don't know. It just felt like he talked a very big game and just did not follow through with it. And I slightly get it, that he's still, the good guy with the moral compass and stuff like that. And that's why he did not hit CM Punk with the title. But he's the one who talked all this stuff about him. Very fiery promo, came out swinging and everything. Like, no one really expected for Hangman Adam Page sit there and say what he said about CM Punk and telling the fan in the stands, like, once I'm done with him, you're going to want a refund for your shirt and stuff like that. No one, like, CM Punk didn't say anything that offensive for him to go off like that. Like, he went off like that on his own. So I'm just confused that, you talked this really big game and just couldn't back it up. But, it is what it is. We'll see what happens with Hangman Page, especially with what happened afterwards. It's just a really bad time in wrestling right now, with all these injuries and stuff. So now we have CM Punk, who injured himself between the match with Hangman Page and then the trios match he had with FTR. Definitely, you could tell he fucked up his foot with these botches and stuff like that. And yeah, actually, I'll get into it since we're at the end here. So it's very confusing of what is happening as far as with the title, because they really did not explain it well on Dynamite. Chris Jericho not Dynamite, but Rampage. Chris Jericho didn't help at all, because then he tried to explain it again on Twitter, and it didn't help at all. But apparently, CM Punk is injured. He needs to get surgery, and he's going to be out for a little bit. And they decided not to relinquish the title, which was Tony Khan's decision, according to CM Punk, said that, that is not an option, it's this, that, and the third. And so they decided to do this tournament, and the winner of that tournament is going to go against Jon Moxley. And the winner of that match is going to go on to Forbidden Door to go against, and I completely forgot the person's name, and I don't know who the person is. When he showed up to, look at CM Punk as far as who will be going against him next, I had no idea who this person was, because I don't really watch New Japan anyway, So the winner of that match is going to go against, I think his name is Hitachi. I completely forgot what his name was. So it's like, okay. But then all of a sudden I see with, now that there is a match against Tanahashi, that's the name. Now there's a match between Tanahashi and Hiroki Goto. And the winner of that match is going to go against the winner of the Jon Moxley and the Battle Royale. Or no, I thought it was a tournament. It's a Battle Royale. And so I'm like, there's a lot going on. Like, I could have sworn there's a fucking ranking system with AEW. Why isn't this going to be Hangman Page going against whoever, Jon Moxley, who is number one, or a triple threat match between Hangman Page, Jon Moxley, and whoever is number two, which I didn't get a chance to really look into the rankings. But it's like, what's the point of the ranking system if we're not going to exactly follow it? If there's going to be an interim champion, why aren't we following this ranking system? So as the rankings as of, here we go. The rankings as of June 3rd. Jon Moxley number 1, Wardlow number 2, Hangman Page number 3. Why couldn't we have a triple threat match between those three? You know, whoever will be the interim champion, and then when CM Punk comes back, then we'll have the interim champion versus CM Punk. Problem solved. So now we're gonna have this battle royale, and whoever that person is gonna be is gonna go against Jon Moxley, who may lose his shot to go after the title against the person from New Japan. It's just very confusing here. But yeah, I'm just very confused as to why we're going through these hoops when you have a ranking system. I can see WWE doing something like this because they don't have a ranking system. They can just toss names into a hat and say you're the number one contender. But if you're going to sit here and do this whole ranking system and, put out rankings every couple of days and stuff, and then say, oh, it's the number one person against the number two person, then why? But yeah, just overall, very sad for CM Punk that he finally gets the title of a major company again, and he got fucking injured. And now Bryan Danielson is injured. Someone else is injured too from AEW. I'm like, damn, it's just really not a good time for wrestling right now. So I'm gonna quickly go over NXT In Your House. I didn't watch the whole pay-per-view. I tuned in. I was in and out of it, to be 100% honest. I saw the end of Carmella Hayes versus Cameron Grimes. And then I saw some of Mandy Rose going against Wendy Chu, which I saw Mandy Rose retained, which I kind of figured. Carmella Hayes winning the title once again, congrats to him. He's gonna be such a superstar. He's really good, I have to say. He's pretty good. Slightly concerned with what they're gonna do to him on the main roster, but as far as NXT, he's top notch, chef's kiss. I didn't see the NXT. Actually, no, I did see the end of the NXT Tag Team Championship. The Creed brothers had their dad in the audience, and there was the spot where the title was thrown into the ring, and one of them was going to hit one of the members of Deadly Pretty with it, but they decided not to, and they won cleanly. And of course they celebrated with dad ringside and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. I haven't been really watching NXT consistently like that. Because I thought I always thought the Creed brothers was a bit generic. But in the ring they're pretty good. It's just I don't know, they just come off very generic to me. And then the singles match for the NXT Championship, Bron Breakker versus Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy now got these minions. People are saying that it could be the grizzled young veterans repackaged. Just my goodness, Joe Gacy with the 2.0, with the Bray Wyatt 2.0 look. Bron Breakker retaining, of course. I was interested to see where we're gonna go from here. Bron Breakker is one of those people who should be on the main roster, but unfortunately for NXT 2.0, they done build up Bron Breakker so strong, and there's not really a lot of people who can take over the title once he gets called up. I mean, you could probably have Grayson Waller eventually take the title or something like that. But yeah, there's not a lot of people who can take the top spot like Bron Breakker. But Bron Breakker is really good enough to be on the main roster. Unfortunately for NXT. But I guess I don't know what we're waiting for. I don't know if he's gonna eventually go up after SummerSlam, or if they're going to seriously hold on to him until WrestleMania time. Who knows? He could be called up for the Royal Rumble or for SummerSlam, or sooner than that. But they definitely need to figure out what's the plan after him. And then we saw that Apollo Crews is back at NXT. Now he's fluent in English with no accent. definitely pulled the Kofi Kingston here, unless maybe he has the accent. He's the Nigerian prince once he crossed the borders into the main roster. Who knows? But it's nice to see him back in NXT again. He was really good at NXT. My only issue with him was that he was just a smiley person, and it was one of those people that was like, I'm happy to be here type of situation. But I'm happy that he is getting kind of like a second win in NXT. He did team up with Solo Sikoa, who I also think should be eventually on the main roster soon. But I'm guessing that they're just going to just take their time with him or something. I don't know. But he's definitely one of those people that needs to be on the main roster sooner or later. But yeah, overall, NXT In Your House was pretty good from what I've seen. I didn't get a chance to check out the other matches, but overall, from what I've seen, it was a pretty good pay-per-view. I mean, it's really catching on its own. So I'm not like 100%. I'm not surprised. I should say that. I'm not surprised that it was a pretty good pay-per-view overall. Because NXT 2.0, like once you've realized that NXT 2.0 is pretty much FCW, revamped, you kind of like not really look too much into the wrestling because it's going to be all about characters and building up, the next crew of gimmicks basically. Some things are a bit silly, it is. Some things are a bit cringy, but everybody down there is, pretty much in extreme developmental. It's not like NXT Black and Gold developmental where you're dealing with a bunch of indie stars who have already been established and they just need a platform to get in front of people. These are people who are like as vanilla as ice cream in the ring, are green as money, I guess, as Jade Cargill would say, in the ring. So going into Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell was a pretty good pay-per-view, which I was pretty shocked by because we didn't really have any major titles defended here. We didn't have Roman Reigns. We didn't have the Usos appearing. So, going into this, there was, of course, the story that Cody Rhodes was injured because they said it was a partial tear on the pec, but then they kept explaining that while he was training, that it was a tear. So I'm like, well, if the pec tore, then he's injured. I don't know. Last time, because I remember when Triple H had wrestled in the match with him, Shawn Michaels, and the Brothers Destruction, and he tore his pec. He couldn't really wrestle like that, and it was Shawn Michaels who was carrying the match from that point on. So, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think he, if y'all saying he's not really injured, but he tore his pec, like, normally that's a pretty big thing. So going into the results, we had first off the triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship: Bianca Belair versus Asuka and Becky Lynch. Very good match, of course. All three women have good chemistry with each other. I wasn't surprised that Bianca Belair had retained, but they definitely kind of teased it as if she was going to lose the title. Asuka, I love Asuka. Asuka is the best. Asuka is number one. But unfortunately, it just feels like she's not going to get the title back anytime soon. But she was really good in the ring. Her, Becky Lynch, and Bianca, they all have really good chemistry with each other. Definitely one of the better women's matches of the year, I have to say. After that was Bobby Lashley versus Omos and MVP in a handicap match. Sometimes I get a little bit confused with these handicap matches because you're saying it's a handicap match as if it's like such a very big disadvantage to someone, but if the person is having to tag in and out, all you have to do is really get enough offense to keep one person away from tagging in, and you kind of have the handicap portion down. you know, Omos needs help as far as wrestling wise. There's not really a lot of big guys in WWE that can like really help him out to like kind of like sell as, you know, a big guy and whatnot. Um, so there's little things that he do, like he he wrestles like he is the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk, if that makes sense. And it just feels like he's really holding back, and there's a lot more that he could be doing. Um it's just it's a lot more that he could be doing. But it's just like they're like it just feels like he's being held back or something. Like it's very confusing, but like when he's in the ring, like the match like really slows down. Um not really clumsy, but the match isn't as fluid as it really should be. And like even if you compare him to people like Big Show or stuff like that, like the match kind of flows. Even with the Big Show, the match like flows a little better than what Omos is doing. And I know that, you know, he's still learning and stuff like that. And even with him being teamed up with AJ Styles, there's only but so much that AJ Styles can teach Omos, because AJ Styles' wrestling style is very different than what Omos should be doing. So, you know, I don't know. I don't think the answer for Omos is going to be there, because like I said, AEW, I mean not AEW, WWE don't really have a lot of like big giants for him to learn from. So, it is what it is. But Bobby Lashley wins with he caught MVP with the Hurt Lock, and MVP eventually tapped out. Um, so yeah, that was that. After that we had Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel. Um, you know, this storyline with Kevin Owens and Ezekiel is very fun, very entertaining. Um, you know, the commentators were cracking me up because they were saying Ezekiel, and I think it was Jimmy that mistakenly said Elias, and then he corrected himself and said it's Ezekiel. Um, I think the funniest thing is whenever Kevin Owens is on commentary with them and he's sitting there correcting them every single time they said Ezekiel. But this was a fun match. It served its purpose. Looks like we're continuing this feud again. They'll be going against each other once more. I believe at Money in the Bank, if I'm not mistaken. But Kevin Owens winning this, which I wasn't really too surprised about it, because I figured we were going to continue this feud until, you know, we have like definite proof that Ezekiel is the younger brother of Elias. Like we're gonna have to have like some type of I don't even know how they're gonna pull it off unless they put a fake beard on on Ezekiel or something. But I don't know how they're gonna pull it off. But they're gonna pull off some type of backstage segment where they both show up at the same time, and you know, let that be that. But it was a fine match. It was a bit short and sweet, just like with the handicap match. But Kevin Owens winning, I'm not too surprised about it, especially since we're continuing the feud. After that, we had the Judgment Day going against AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan. First of all, Rhea Ripley was not wearing any pants, and she had this like new gear going on, which apparently was it sounded like it was going to be a one-off. I don't know what happened to her original gear or something like that. But everybody was loving the new gear, including yours truly. Respectfully, I was like, she's not wearing any damn pants, and you know, I'm not mad about it. But I'm loving the Judgment Day, the theme music and stuff like that. You know, and then we get what happens the next day. But getting into this match, this was a fine match. It was a good match. It was a good match. Um, it was cool. I don't know. It's just a bit weird to me that we're getting Liv Morgan teaming up with AJ Styles and Finn Balor. Um, she seems like she's out of place with them. You know, it seems like the person. I I don't want to make that analogy, but it seems like the fan that got to hang out with the cool guys, if that makes sense. But she seems like out of place. Um, you know, it's just like those situations with WWE where we have the mixed tag team match, and it's just like, you know, like it's not like it gels, but she just seems out of place. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. It just seems like she's a bit out of place. That's how I feel about it. But Judgment Day winning, I wasn't too surprised about it. I was curious of how we're going to continue the feud. First of all, I hope AJ Styles is okay. I don't know what the hell happened to him, but apparently he started bleeding, and when they threw him out, like at the end of the match, they did not show him at all. So I'm assuming something happened with him. Um, but yeah, they did not show his ass at all once the match ended. So I'm hoping he is okay. I didn't really look into to see what type of injury he had suffered, but yo, that I hope he's okay. I really do. Um, but yeah, speaking of what happened the next day, we had the tease of the new member being introduced, which ended up being Finn Balor, which I'm like, that don't really make sense, but okay, I'll go along with it. Like maybe, you know, maybe he did get his ass beat enough that he's like, you know what, I'm going to join this team. That's what I'm going to assume. But I was like, okay, you know, AJ Styles is maybe out for a little bit, you know, Finn Balor, okay. But then Damian Priest was like, all right, now we gotta get rid of the weak link of the group, and he turned to Edge and said, that's you. And I'm like, oh, we doing a lot here. We're doing a lot. And so they beat up Edge, you know, took him out. So I was a little confused about that because I'm like, well, you know, we have some people missing from WWE, and to be honest, Ed, I really like Edge with Judgment Day. It's from the rumor is sounding like they wanted to go with like a more supernatural thing with Judgment Day, which I hope they're not going to do, because it's not really needed with this group. But I'm fine with Finn Balor being leader because, you know, normally he's the lead. You know, he's former leader of the Bullet Club. Probably went to Rhea Ripley, and Damian Priest is like, look, I was a better leader of a group than Edge was. My group was known worldwide. Blah 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 blah. Check the resume, and they was like, okay. So my only thing is when it comes to Judgment Day, who is going to be the one really talking? Because Finn Balor isn't as good on the mic as Edge is, and you know Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley is okay. But they're really gonna miss someone who could be like that mouthpiece for them, which is what Edge was really doing a great job with Judgment Day. But we'll see where it goes from here. So I'm guessing once Edge comes back, Edge and AJ Styles are going to team up, which, you know, I guess that will make sense here. But yeah, I am interested to see where we go with here as far as the Judgment Day. So next up after that, we had Madcap Moss going against Happy Corbin in a no holds bar match. Look at Madcap Moss. You know, not a complete makeover, but at least we don't have the suspenders anymore. I don't know if we're gonna change up the name or something like that with Madcap Moss, but I'm digging the look. He is definitely giving me Drew McIntyre 2.0 vibes. And he has it's a better look for him, I would say. Because I couldn't get over the suspenders with the moccasins that he was wearing, and I kept saying I don't know if, you know, he's about to chop trees or you know, go strip somewhere. But you know, I'm happy for him. He's definitely over with the crowd, and he did cut the promo going against Happy Corbin before Hell in a Cell. And I think, well, no, we didn't get the aftermath of him just yet, but he looks great. he looks great with the all black on. Even though it like gives me Drew McIntyre 2.0 Goldberg vibes with the all black and everything, but I'm fine with it. I'm willing to see, like, so once he is done with Happy Corbin, it's like, where do we go from there on? You know what I mean? Do we, what do we do? So, but I'm happy for him that he is well over and everything like that. So, it is what it is. So after that, we have Theory going against Mustafa Ali for the United States Championship. This took place in Chicago. Mustafa is from Chicago. They announced he's from Chicago. He had special gear made and everything. Family in the crowd. And he lost. I'm not surprised at all that he lost. It was people who actually believed that Mustafa Ali was going to win, and I knew it wasn't going to happen because I'm like, you're sitting here telling me that the hand-picked guy for Vince McMahon was going to lose to the guy who said he wanted to leave, refused to work the Royal Rumble, and apparently had an argument with Vince McMahon over a creative idea. You fully expected me to believe that he was going to get a title. And then from what I saw on Twitter, Mustafa is working on main event. So Mustafa is just, he's just going to ride this out until the contract expires or something. But I feel bad for him. He should have, he should be pushed, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. But yeah, this was all about Theory, who apparently is going to face off against Bobby Lashley, which I'm like, man, don't, like, if anybody's going to take the title off of him, I'm hoping it's going to be Bobby Lashley. Like, don't tell me Theory is going to go over on Bobby Lashley now. But this was a fine match, but I feel bad for Mustafa Ali. And then we get to the main event. We get to the match that everyone was talking about. The whole, he's not that injured. And, he tore his the pec off the bone, but he's not that injured. He'll be able to wrestle. And so people is like, is this fake or something like that? They're allowing him to wrestle with his pec torn off the bone. So we get Seth freaking Rollins coming out with the he was wearing the dusty gear, which I was like, okay, let's let it happen. And then Cody Rhodes comes out with his, extravagant entrance with the pyro and stuff like that. And you see the bruise on the chest from the way he was wearing the jacket. And he gets into the ring, the crowd was chanting Cody and stuff like that. And then this motherfucker took the jacket off, and you see, like, no, this motherfucker is injured. That he was bruised, and I'm sitting here like, he should not be wrestling. And I know people are like, it was his idea and stuff like that. Listen, people have been injured for less and have been pulled from matches. And so I don't understand why he got pulled. They could have easily replaced him with somebody else. They could have easily thrown someone else in there, okay? And this could have still been it could have been a good Hell in a Cell match for what it was. But I'm not understanding why put yourself through all that. The fact that it's torn off the bone, that means he can't tear it anymore. But because he's going through, whether he was going through the pain, without medicine or with medicine, you're going to eventually compensate for the injury. So he could injure something else. He could hurt his shoulder, arm or whatever, ribs or something like that from the match. It was a good Hell in a Cell match. It really is. It's like, but I will play devil's advocate and say, was this match that good because he wrestled through this injury, or was the Hell in a Cell match good because it was a good Hell in a Cell match? We had cowbell. What else? We had the kendo stick into the chest, stuff like that. Like, the whole time I'm sitting here with a cringe look on my face, like, he really should not be wrestling in this match because he has to get surgery. When you tear the pec off the bone, you have to get surgery. And I have watched, there was a YouTube video of a doctor who had talked about CODY's injury. He reacted to CODY revealing his torn pec. And he mentioned how, once the pec has been torn off the bone, like you can't really injure it that much more. But he could injure himself in other ways. But in my opinion, I feel as though he shouldn't have been wrestling the match. Like, if you're injured, you shouldn't be wrestling. Like, when Triple H got injured, I could see if Cody Rhodes was injured during the match and then he went through to finish it, and I would say I would applaud you for doing that. But the fact that he was injured the day before, he was slightly injured before that when he did the house show, and then injured himself more when he was working out, and they knew he was that injured, you could have easily, did something else. And from my understanding, I believe Cody mentioned that he wanted to, do it for the love of the game and to pretty much finish out the feud, and that way he can go off and do his injury. Like get the injury done. You have a child now, you have someone at home waiting for you. You should just get yourself healed. That's what you should be concerned with. It was a good match. It was a fine match. Cody Rhodes, of course, wins by pinfall. And then on Monday, he comes out to cut his promo. And it sounded like he was about to say something about Money in the Bank. Because he kind of looked up at the briefcases. And then Seth Rollins comes out and says, look, I still don't like you, but you have my respect. And then he gets attacked again. Then he attacks Cody Rhodes again. And then it was like Cody Rhodes, they showed him getting up, being injured and stuff like that. They was going to put him on a stretcher. He decided not to go on the stretcher and stuff like that. So interesting thing too, during the match, the crowd was actually cheering for Seth Rollins, sitting there saying thank you Rollins and stuff like that. This was in Chicago. So very interesting that they were doing that type of stuff. And look, okay, I'm keeping the same energy that I did when he was in AEW. Look, Cody Rhodes is a great babyface. He is. But how much of a babyface do you have to be? How much babyfacing and, sympathy do you really need? He already has I'm doing this for my dad. My dad never won the title. I'm going to do what my dad can do. And then on Monday Night Raw, he started to cut the promo, tearing up, talking about his kid. Every time he cuts a passionate promo, he starts tearing up. And then he was attacked by Seth Rollins, and he had injured, and he was getting up. It was oh, I can do this. I can do this. I'm going to walk off of my own will. No, I'm not going to take the help from the medical team. I'm going to walk off of my own power. And I'm how much baby facing do you need? He's starting to get to John Cena levels of this baby facing. And it was the issue that happened with AEW. When he was going against MJF and Brody Lee, it was great. It was perfect. But after a while, you can't be the cute baby face 24/7. It's unrealistic. And it gets a little bit tiring after a while, and that's why the crowd turned on him. Because it's dude, how much baby facing and sympathy do you need? After a while, you kind of be all right, come on now. You can't be this, not really pathetic, but just oh man, I'm such an underdog. Oh man, look, oh man, I'm down on my luck and type of stuff. And it's dude, after a while, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You know what I mean? But to me, he was getting slightly John Cena, Hulk Hogan type of levels. Eventually Seth Rollins is eventually Cody Rhodes is going to get hit with the Superman punch, and then he's going to start hulking up or something like that. I fully expect that to happen. But I'm just I don't know. I'm happy for Cody Rhodes that he is in the position that he's in, but it's just like how much like you're overdoing it. And it's like, first of all, you don't need to fight through the energy to have people's respect and sympathy. Like you got that from us when you was cutting the promo about the being the underdog and stuff like that. And it was people who, felt like he has my respect for doing it. I felt as though it's kind of stupid to wrestle through an injury like that. You really shouldn't wrestle through an injury like that, especially because then he showed a picture on Tuesday. I think he gets the surgery either Tuesday or Wednesday, but he showed an updated picture, and the fucking bruise is from his chest down to his wrist. So it got worse, the bruising. And it's like, dude. And then, like, around his pec now is turning white. So it's like, dude, you need to sit the fuck down. And it's like, yo, get your surgery. We'll see you next year. Happy New Year to you. But knowing his crazy ass, he may try to come back, like, sooner than that. But it's just, I don't know. This whole situation with CODY with being the babyface is just like, you're overdoing it. And eventually some people in the crowd is going to start turning on him like they slightly did at Hell in the Cell when they was cheering for Seth Rollins and saying thank you, CODY. But I feel like it's just too much. Like against the right people, the whole underdog babyface thing really works. Like people like MJF, when he was going against Brody Lee, for example, that worked perfectly, because they were such strong heels as far as like, not really, yeah, they're such strong heels that a baby face works perfectly. With Seth Rollins, like, Seth Rollins isn't exactly the same type of heel as MJF. Like, Seth Rollins is more of a troll than, someone who, like, really, like, grinds your gears that much to where as though you want to kill the person, not really kill the person, but you really want to hurt the person. And then Brody Lee was such a menacing person. So it's like, if Cody Rhodes goes against Roman Reigns, is he going to pull this same babyface type of thing, like underdog with him? Or is he going to, like, kind of like step to the plate, go toe to toe? You know what I mean? Like, the underdog thing doesn't need to happen with every single feud. And then you can't, like, layer it with the underdog. Like, the perfect example of the whole underdog thing was Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was an underdog, but he was an underdog due to circumstances. Like, he didn't make himself an underdog. Like, he didn't sit there and say, like, how, I'm trying to think how to word it perfectly, but he wasn't sitting there like, I'm doing this for all the little people. Well, he kind of said it, but he wasn't like, I'm gonna do this for, the little people and start crying and stuff like that. He, like, kind of like, I don't know, he kind of was, got very confident with it. You know what I mean? He was very confident and was, stepped up to the plate type of situation. Whereas though with Cody Rhodes, it's just like, he's like the underdog thing, and he, like, just like, is this gives me vibes of the flaming table spot. Like, he's overdoing things to get cheered from the crowd. Like, he wanted the respect of everyone, and he, like, said, for the love of the sport and stuff like that. And so he wrestled with his pec torn off just so he can have that story. And so with him, I forgot who he was going against. I think it was Malachi Black. I forgot who he was going against with that flaming table spot. But he did the flaming table spot, and it really wasn't needed to try to get cheers from the crowd, and the crowd wasn't accepting of it. So I don't know. It's a lot. And, when he comes back, people are going to cheer for him, stuff like that. And I'm fine with that. But, like, he's overdoing it with the whole underdog thing. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's my 2 cents. That's my rant about Cody Rhodes. You could say, hey, you're slightly biased because you are a Cody hater. And I am a Cody hater. I am. I'm happy for him. But it's just like, dog, you're really overdoing it with the babyface stuff. Like, it's really giving me, like, it's giving me John Cena, not even John Cena type of vibes, because John Cena was able to take the booing and stuff like that and roll with it. So I'm trying to think of the fan of a wrestler to really compare it to, as far as like always doing the underdog babyface type of situation. It kind of reminds me like Hulk Hogan when he would wrestle, when he was Hulkamania Hulk Hogan, where he would, be the underdog and stuff like that during the match, and then he would start hawking up, and then he would win the match. That's exactly the vibe that he gives. But it's just worse because he's just like always an underdog. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's my rant with with Cody Rhodes, and that's my opinion with the Hell in the Cell and the NXT In Your House and Double or Nothing. And so here we're on to the next pay-per-view, which is Money in the Bank, and can't wait to see what's gonna end up there. Can't wait to see who's gonna win the Money in the Bank, truthfully. Because with Cody Rhodes out, who is going to win it to go against Roman Reigns? That's going to be very interesting. I'm kind of hoping that it would be Seth Rollins, because I would love to see that feud between him and Roman Reigns once again. That match with them at Royal Rumble, with Seth Rollins straight trolling Roman Reigns with the Shield stuff, I thought that was perfect. And I wish that the feud would last a lot longer with them. But that's it for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give some shout out. Shout out to Julian and Rob Bates from Wrestling Court Podcast and AlternativeMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling. Also, shout out to Straight Talk Wrestling, Circle of Debate, and Top Rope Wrestling Talk Podcast as well. Coming up next week, she's going to be more of an overview of Dynamite, Raw, and SmackDown as we go towards the Forbidden Door pay-per-view that's coming up. I really need to start doing my homework and watching some of these New Japan matches so I know who the hell is who. But maybe I'll do some reactions or stuff like that for the New Japan matches. Definitely be sure to follow me on Twitter at JDC137. That's JAYDEE, the letter C137, and follow the podcast on Twitter at WrestleBread. You can click the links in the profiles for the Instagram, the Facebook, and the YouTube channel as well. Definitely will be coming back with the Slice from Jaydee series, and I'm also going to be, like I said, I'll be doing some reactions as well, so be on the lookout for that. Don't think I'll be doing a Slice from Jaydee this week, since I'm still kind of slightly getting over of having COVID and, still dealing with the household having it and everything like that, so slightly trying to return things back to normal because we've been pretty much in quarantine for the last week or so. But leave a review. Let me know your thoughts, how you feel about Hell in a Cell, Double or Nothing, and In Your House. Are you excited for what's coming up with the Forbidden Door and for Money in the Bank? And who do you think is going to be winning Money in the Bank as well? But thank you so much for listening, and until next time, guys, peace.